Okay, sorry, I froze then, but hopefully I'm back on. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, excellent. Right, okay. So I will start sharing my screen. Okay, hopefully you can see all this. So I'm just going to run through what SATs are going to look like next year. So they'll last 4 days from Monday, the 9th of May to Thursday, the 12th of May. On Monday, we do the SPAG paper. It's I'm submitting someone in. It's 45 minutes, and then we do a spelling test. It says 20 minutes. It's not timed. It usually takes around 20 minutes. It's quite a nice start to the week. They have swapped it around. We used to do the reading paper on a Monday, but it's much nicer to have the SPAG paper because it eases them in a little bit. Tuesday is the reading test, which is an hour. Wednesday is the only day we do 2 papers. We do the arithmetic paper. We have a bit of a break, and then we do the first reasoning paper. Arithmetic paper is half an hour, and the reasoning paper is 40 minutes. And then on Thursday, we do the final paper, which is 40 minutes. And then on Friday, we have a great time and have a bit of a party. Writing is also assessed, but it's assessed using evidence collected by myself throughout Year 6. There's no Year 6 actual writing paper. And there's no science sampling for Year 6 this year, so there'll be no Year 6 science SATs paper in 2022 either. So I'm just going to go into a bit more detail. She says it's not moving. There we go. So what are the SATs for? So SATs are predominantly used as a way for both parents and teachers to learn more about the child's academic strengths and weaknesses. They give teachers the chance to see how the children are doing in comparison to their peers, not only within the same school, but also nationally. And they're a useful tool to see how well a child's progressed from Key Stage 1 to Key Stage 2, and gives high schools a bit of a base to compare them against when the time comes for your child to leave Year 6 and make their journey up to Key Stage 3. So high schools will often retest them when they get to high school, but not for a while. So they use the SATs as a base for setting them when they get there in Year 7. So when and how are they carried out? So the test will take place during normal school hours, under normal exam conditions in the hall. Afterwards, the completed papers are sent away to be marked externally. I don't see them. Standard timings of the test differ, but last no more than an hour. Children are not allowed to talk to each other from the moment the assessments are handed out until they're collected after the test is ended. Again, that's normal exam conditions that they'll then get used to at high school. And the children's results are sent back to school at some point in July. They don't send the data out for a while, and will be sent home separate to the report. So you'll have the SATs information when we get it in school, which is usually some point in July. So what sort of results will you see from your children's SATs papers? So once marked, the test will be given a raw score, which is the marks they got for that paper. That score then gets converted into a scaled score, which I'll explain in a second. And then the judgment of whether they've met that national standard of being nationally at expected standard for Year 6. So after marking each test, the external markers will convert the raw score into a scale score, which shows whether the child's working sort of towards the standard, at the standard, or above the national standard. The scaled score goes from 80 to 120. So a scaled score of 100 or more is classed as meeting the national standard. A scaled score of 110 or more is exceeding the national standard, and is more commonly known as achieving greater depth. And any scaled score below 100 is considered working towards the national standard. So the first the paper we do on Tuesday is a reading paper. It's been designed to test the children's comprehension of age-related reading material. It's an hour. There's often 3 different texts: a non-fiction, a fiction, and or poetry sometimes. They quite like to throw in oldie worldy texts every now and again. So sort of Dickensy style text, that kind of thing. But we do a lot in school where each week I show them a different text, and I do try and use old language and modern text, and we look at poetry and all those things to make sure that they're exposed to all of those different texts. But this is also why it's really important that I know the children have often got a style of book that they quite like reading, but it's really important that they read a range of different texts so that they're not thrown off when it appears in their reading assessment. So reading paper focuses on lots of different areas. I won't go too into this, but sort of explaining, summarising, predicting. There's lots of different styles of questions in a reading paper: multiple choice, one-word answers, and then more formal, lengthy answers. So I'm just going to show you a couple of examples. So this was all about space tourism. It was a non-fiction sort of report, and it was just a simple retrieve the information. How would you get the spacecraft to the space hotel? Just find it, write it, 1 mark. You might get ones like this, which is another retrieval question. Circle the part of the snail in the picture below. So it's not always just writing. And then this one's a 2-marker question. So using evidence from the paragraph to support your prediction. So predict something, and then what from the text has given you that sort of information. You'll see that this is the kind of vocabulary that they're expected to just know. So gloom, menace, inoffensive, lumbering, pounce. Those are all words that are just expected that reading in the context they would be able to understand, which is also, again, why it's really important that they're, although however much I love, Tom Gates' diary books and Diary of a Wimpy Kid and all those kinds of books, they're not going to have this level of vocabulary in them, which is really important that they sort of get exposed to that. So in the reading paper, a lot of the marks are retrieval, just sort of getting the information from the text, and understanding the meaning of words in the context, which is, again, why it's really important they see lots of things. So when you're reading with your child at home, asking questions like, find a word that's got a closest meaning to, like the word annoyed, or in what year did this happen? So literally just retrieving information. In the last paragraph, so-and-so doesn't want to do so-and-so. Why do you think that is? So inferring from the text. Moving on to the maths papers. So we do the arithmetic and the first reasoning paper on the Wednesday. The arithmetic is 30 minutes. It's got 40 marks, so there's less than a minute per question, or per mark, I should say. It covers the 4 operations. So division, you'll see here, is long division. It's a 2-mark question. This is how I would expect them to answer a long division question. I have yet to see a long division question that has a remainder in their arithmetic paper. So usually it's quite a good indication of whether they've got it right or not, whether there's a remainder. Multiplication, so long multiplication, this is the other question that gets 2 marks. So it's really important that they're having a go and showing that method, because there's a good chance they'll get 1 mark from it. Simple addition, subtraction questions, BODMAS, which we've recently done, so knowing the order of operation, the multiplication comes before the subtraction. Percentage questions, using decimals, and fractions, which we've just started doing fractions in class. We haven't yet covered percentages and decimals, but we will get onto that at some point this year. So the reasoning papers, the first reasoning paper is on Tuesday, second reasoning paper, that should say Wednesday and Thursday. Both have standard timings of 40 minutes and they're worth 35 marks. They require the children to demonstrate their knowledge that they have, that they've shown in their arithmetic paper, but using that to solve the problem. So it's not simple, add this, take away this, work out this fraction. It will most likely be in a context of something else, and they've got to work out what the question's asking them. It focuses on all the things that we do in class, so addition, subtraction, shape, often things like coordinates or graphs, statistics, measurement, algebra, ratio, proportion, fractions, decimals, and percentages. The questions get harder throughout the paper, and it's not unusual for a child to not be able to complete the whole paper in the time. So it is designed to get harder as you go through. So some example reasoning questions for you. Stefan's watch shows 5 minutes past 9. The watch is 12 minutes fast. What's the correct time? It's a simple subtraction, but it's in the form of time. You've got Roman numerals there. Here you've got an angles question, so it's expecting you to know that angles on a straight line and opposite angles are equal, so then you can work out what A is. Here, millilitres of milk into a jug, draw an arrow to show the level of milk, so we're going to have to work out what the scale is and then work out So pours 165 mils into a measuring jug. So then you've got to work out where 165 would be on that scale. Really simple question. You'll see this is near the start of the paper, writing a number out in words. Also near the start of the paper, 2-mark question, simple division and subtraction problem. So it's not all about year 6. A SATs paper, so the last time we did SATs in 2019, this was the percentage of where it came from. 10% came from year 3, about 20% came from year 4, 25% from year 5, and the rest from year 6. Now that's not just year 6 things. That's where it's might be something they've learned earlier, but it's been expanded upon and it becomes a year 6. So really, if they have their year 3, 4, and 5 knowledge, they could actually get most of the paper correct before we even look at the year 6 context. So that's why it's really important we go over all of the skills all the way through the year. So thinking about how you can support your child preparing for SATs. So firstly, a positive attitude goes a really long way. Lots of encouragement and lots of support. I know I don't need to tell you that. It's not the be all and end all. Please try not to use past papers at home. I use them in school. So if you've done past papers at home and they've seen the question before, I'm going to think they're doing better than they actually are. So there's lots and lots of things that you can use at home. The CGP books, which are really, really good, and they do 10-minute fast papers. They do it in maths bag reading, and they're really, really good because they're just 10 minutes, and it'll be a couple of arithmetic questions or a quick reading comprehension. So I really like those. They're quite good, and I know there's lots of different resources out there. Some further tips: if you've got any questions or concerns, ask me. Don't ask the children, so that it doesn't worry them. But encourage them to talk to me or another adult that they trust if they've got any anxieties about SATs. I do really press upon them that as long as they try their best, that's all that matters. And it really is a celebration of the 7 years that they've had at primary school, and it gives someone something to go, look, I've done this. Here's what shows that I've done it. I maybe plan something nice for the weekends before and after SAT, so it'll help them start the week well, but maybe not an all-night sleepover the night before. And then there's just a couple of websites there for helping with maths in particular. So remember this about SATs. SATs focuses on what they know about maths and English. It doesn't reflect how talented they are at science, geography, art, PE, and certainly doesn't highlight their positive personal characteristics like kindness and integrity. It doesn't always tell the whole story. It says whether they did or didn't meet a standard. There's a massive margin for getting expected sort of greater depth. And they could be anywhere in that. So, and it changes from year to year. What isn't met last year might meet this year the standard. So it changes. And in reality, it's just 1 or 2 papers lasting between half an hour and an hour each day. So it's not a huge amount. And we spend the afternoons doing a quick revision session and then loads and loads of fun stuff. And the amount of times that year 6 said to me, do you know what? I really enjoyed SATs week, because usually when we do assessments in school, in the afternoon, we carry on working. Whereas in SATs week, we get to do lots of fun stuff and have a really great day on the Friday. So that's kind of a bit of a run through year 6 SATs. I know it was a bit of a whirlwind, but I'll put this video up on the website and the slides as well. But please do come ask me if you need, if you want any extra information or how you can help your children. But little and often is often the best way. And there's, as I say, there's some really, really great books out there that are quick 10 minutes of this, that, and the other. And it sort of makes it quite light and easy. One thing that I will say is times tables are an absolute must. They really need to be fast at recalling their times tables, and they must know them 12 times. The amount of questions that, if they don't know the times table and they've then got to work out the times table before they even do the question, it just means that the question becomes really impossible and really time consuming, and it'll just make them so much more confident answering the question because it'll be at the forefront of their mind. So please do encourage them to go on Rockstars. as much as possible, a couple of minutes a day or 10 minutes a few times a week or something like that. But yeah, that's my only request. But I'll stop recording now and I will, hang on,